What's up guys, I'm Lee Morris with fstoppers.com, and right here I have the brand new Microsoft Surface Pro 4. This is one of the coolest laptop slash tablet hybrid things that I have ever used in my entire life. I've had it for a few weeks now, and I want to go through some of the features of this and just my overall impressions so that if you're considering buying it, you'll know everything that you could possibly want to know before you take the plunge. So first, let's start with what exactly this product is. It's definitely a product unlike anything that's really on the market. The iPad Pro is kind of trying to go after it, but in reality, it's really not any competition because this isn't some weak little tablet running some much smaller operating system. This is a full-blown laptop that runs Windows 10, and it can do everything any other computer can do, but then it also has complete touch capabilities, and it comes with a pen as well, which is incredibly responsive. And so if you're the type of person who likes touching your screen or drawing on it, this is an absolute no-brainer. It's one of the coolest products I've used in a very long time. So let's talk about the hardware real quick. First of all, as you can see, it has a kickstand on the back, and the reason it needs the kickstand is because the keyboard doesn't have a hinge on it that can actually hold the laptop or the screen up. This is actually a cover and a keyboard in one product. It's really amazing because it's soft. It feels very similar to the cover that would go on the current iPad, but it has a keyboard and a mouse built into it, and it magnetically snaps onto the bottom of this. You can close it up just like that, and as you can see, an incredibly small form factor here, and it opens up, and as you can see here, it has another magnet in it. So if you want the keyboard to go flat, it can, like this, or it can snap up, and the keyboard has a much more comfortable typing position, which is really amazing. The kickstand on the back, I thought that it would be really cumbersome before I used it, but it's actually really, really convenient. It moves into pretty much unlimited angles. So it's not like it snaps into a current angle like some of the older ones. This one moves and stays wherever you put it, which is really, really awesome. What's great with the kickstand is you don't need to use the keyboard anymore. So you can leave this behind, flip this thing on. Windows 10 is incredibly fast, so when you hit the button on the side, it's very similar to an iPad. It instantly turns off, but then when you tap it, it instantly comes back on. It certainly feels like the future. I have so many laptops that, you know, when you shut them down, they take 2 minutes to shut down and 5 minutes to boot back up. This thing just goes to sleep and comes back very, very quickly. The screen on the Surface Pro 4 is unbelievable. It is so crystal clear. The pixel density is absolutely amazing on this thing, and just the color and the contrast, it has to be one of the best screens that I've ever seen on a product before. I absolutely love it, and for the price, you really cannot beat it. On the front and the back, it has cameras very similar to an iPhone or an iPad, so you're able to do Skype calls, you're able to take pictures with the tablet as well, which is awesome. But probably the biggest feature of this entire product is the fact that it runs full Windows 10 on it. So as you can see right here, I actually have Adobe Premiere, the newest Adobe Premiere. I've been editing 4K footage on this thing, which is absolutely unbelievable. And you know, right after I'm done with this, I can go into Photoshop. I then can open up 20 tabs in Edge or Google Chrome. You can run basically unlimited programs at once. This tablet in particular has 8 gigabytes of RAM, but you can get it up to 16. I think this has 256 gigabyte SSD in it, but you can also get a 1 terabyte SSD. So this isn't some underpowered tablet that you may be accustomed to. This is a full-blown laptop all in an incredibly small package. Let's talk about some of the ports on this. On the right side, there's a USB 3 jack. There's a display port that you could plug into an external monitor. And then on the left side, there is a headphone jack. And you may be saying to yourself, well, that doesn't sound like enough ports to replace my laptop. And they've thought of that. This is the Surface Pro dock. This is a separate product, and if you're the type of person that's like a power user, or you have external displays or whatever, this is going to be a must-have product. This is a single cable here that's going to charge the device, and it's also going to give you a ton of different port options. It plugs in the side with a little magnetic connector, just like that. And then this is what it gives you. It gives you Ethernet sound, dual 4K mini display port outs, 2 USB 3 ports in the back, and then 2 more USB 3 ports in the front. So the idea here is that you could have a command station at home with dual 4K monitors, a keyboard, a mouse, a speaker system, and all you have to do is sit down at your desk, set this down, and snap this in, and then all of a sudden you have like a full desktop experience with just snapping in one cable. That's absolutely amazing, especially for something this small. And I'm really excited about it. Obviously, this isn't going to be as powerful as a desktop computer with a quad or an 8-core processor and a huge graphics card. This has obviously graphics built into the processor itself. But for 99.9% of what people are doing, this is going to have more than enough power. I've been able to use Photoshop, Lightroom without any sort of slowdown whatsoever. Adobe Premiere works perfectly up until the point that you start trying to edit 4K footage without rendering it out. Then it really starts to slow down. Obviously, you can render it out and edit it perfectly. But standard 1080p footage is edited so well on this thing, you won't see any slowdown whatsoever. So let's talk about the keyboard real quick. As I showed you earlier, this thing snaps onto the bottom here, and then you can type like any other keyboard. This keyboard is actually way better than I thought it would be. It does bounce a little bit just because it's so thin, and I don't know if you can hear this. Can you hear that? There's like a vibration. That sound may drive some people crazy if you're the type of person who's going to be typing a lot on this. I probably would suggest you just get a normal laptop at that point, or you would get a Bluetooth keyboard that would work a little bit better. The mouse pad on this unit also feels amazing. I don't know if this is made of glass or a really smooth plastic, but it really does feel good, and the size of it is also really big for, you know, how small and thin this keyboard is. I'm very impressed with both the keyboard and the trackpad, being that this is a case more than a keyboard and trackpad itself. It's really amazing, the quality. The clicking on the mouse feels okay. It's certainly not bad by any means, but I personally like just tapping and not actually pressing the button. And if you tap with one finger, it's a left click. And if you tap with 2 fingers, it's a right click, and it works so good. It's like finally there's a Windows laptop that actually has a good trackpad. I love it. So let's talk a little bit about touch and the way that it works with Windows 10. In all honesty, it is better than I thought it would be. But you have to be honest with yourself and realize that Windows 10 isn't 100% optimized for touch. When you compare this to like the iPad, where everything is the exact size of your finger, and it can only be used with your hand rather than a mouse and keyboard, you understand that the iPad's going to be a little bit more intuitive when it comes to touch. It's going to be a little bit more easy to work with. This is just straight up Windows 10. And so at the beginning, I thought, this is going to be so ridiculous. All the little X's and buttons and everything are going to be so hard to get to. But in reality, it's not so bad. And Windows 10 also allows you to change the size of everything. So it'll keep the resolution really tight. You won't be able to see any pixels on the screen at all. But if you want bigger things to click on and bigger text, you can easily bump that up and make everything a little bit easier to read and touch. So now let's compare the Surface Pro 4 to the iPad. And I'm a huge fan of the iPad. I actually own a few of them, and I actually use them every single night for casual web browsing and video playing. I don't do much work on the iPad. They're kind of limited with the amount of software that you can actually put on them. But I was thinking when I got the Surface Pro 4, I was thinking, well, maybe it can completely replace my iPad, because now it's like a laptop that's the size of an iPad, but it has a lot more power. It can do everything the iPad can do and more. And although that's true, the Surface Pro 4 can do everything the iPad can do and more, it's not always as easy to, and that's to be expected. Obviously, the iPad is made to be used with your finger, and the Surface Pro 4 has Windows 10 on it. So for instance, if I wanted to watch a movie on my iPad, I might go to the Netflix app. Well, in Windows, I can go to netflix.com and I can use that, and I could use it with a mouse and keyboard, and I could type in what I wanted, or I could rip the keyboard off and I could just use it with my finger. But then there's also an application store within Windows now. And so what I found was it was just a little bit confusing because I didn't know what the best way to watch the video might be. I could go to the website, I could use the application. The other thing that I found that I did a lot on the Surface Pro 4, which is no fault of the product itself, is I just did a lot more because I could. So when I'm watching a video on the iPad, that's basically all you can do. There is a little bit of multitasking that you can do with the latest update. But with the Surface Pro 4, I could have 7 websites open. I've got a video game playing. Maybe I've got like the online poker going. I have Photoshop running. And what I'm realizing is like, man, my battery power is going down so quick. But that's because I'm doing 20 things at once. I'm treating this small tablet like it's my desktop at the office. So I know I'm being a little long-winded here, but all I'm trying to say is that it's way more powerful, and you're probably going to take advantage of that. For instance, if I'm holding and it's like, I just want to resize this picture real quick, and then I get into Photoshop and I'm trying to use the tools with my finger, I find myself getting frustrated and going, this isn't optimized for this. And then I have to realize, well, of course it's not. It's like a laptop. It's made to be used like a laptop. It just also has touch features. And so I can't get mad at the Surface Pro 4 because it doesn't do Photoshop well with touch when something like the iPad can't even open Photoshop at all. Now, when it comes to the pen, I think it's awesome that Microsoft includes this. It's something that I didn't think I would really use, and I find myself using it more often than I thought I would. It's incredibly responsive, and it just works. And you can click the button on the back and it opens up notes, and then you can just start drawing in here, and it feels so natural. And the way that the tip of this pen slides across the glass, it's impossible for me to explain on video, but it feels so good and so natural. I haven't spent much time editing photos with this yet, but I can imagine if you're a retoucher and you're working with a tablet already, like a Wacom, this could be a complete game changer for you because it works so well and it's just included in the box. Pretty amazing. One issue that I have run into with the Surface Pro 4 that I have read about was also an issue with previous Surfaces, is the fact if you're using a program that's very processor intensive and you have it plugged in to AC power, not only will it stop charging the battery, it will actually start draining the battery while it's plugged in. And I've personally been afraid that if I'm, for instance, editing footage in Premiere, that if it got down to 0% battery, maybe this thing would shut off. I've been told by a Microsoft engineer that will not happen, but it will drain the battery down as you're using it. If you do hardcore editing for hours, it will take your battery all the way down to 0. Now, I have tested that with the dock, and I've been told by Microsoft that this dock actually provides more power to the Surface Pro 4 than the included AC adapter, and I cannot get it to stop charging and deplete battery power when it's plugged in with the dock. So I think that if you're a serious user, you're going to be using this at home, especially with other monitors, getting the dock is something that you're definitely going to want to do. So let's quickly talk about the price. The one that I have here has 256 gigabytes of SSD, an Intel i5, and 8 gigabytes of RAM. And this unit costs $1,300. If you just wanted 128 gigabytes and 4 gigabytes of RAM, it's only $1,000, which is really amazing for what this product can do. But if you really want to spec it out, the highest available one that they currently have online is $2,200 with 512 hard drive, i7, and 16 gigs of RAM. and I've been told by Microsoft that soon they will be adding a 1 terabyte option. I have no idea how much that's going to cost, but I imagine it'll be well over $2,500, which at a certain point is getting pretty expensive. But I have to admit, for a $1,000 starting price, the price feels right to me. For what you're getting, the quality of this, it doesn't feel like a cheap thing. It doesn't work like a cheap product. The fact that it comes with the pen and you're not charging an extra $100 for it. This is a premium product and it works like a premium product. And I think the price is right starting at $1,000, although I would struggle to spend $2,200 or even $2,500 when that option is available. So in conclusion, guys, I am a huge fan of the Surface Pro 4. I absolutely love this thing, but I have to be honest with you and say that it's probably not for everyone. If you're the type of person who types for a living, or if you travel a lot and you're gonna want this thing on your lap, it's not particularly comfortable with the keyboard. Obviously, if you're just gonna be touching the screen, it's way more comfortable than a standard laptop. But if you're gonna be typing and this thing's gonna be vibrating and you have to use the kickstand on your lap, it's not that comfortable. If you're the type of person who types only when you're at the office or at work, this might be perfect because you can use it with the dock or with a Bluetooth keyboard and mouse, and then it becomes just like any other desktop or laptop computer, and you can get the keyboard that you really love rather than a standard laptop keyboard. If you're trying to decide between the Surface Pro 4 and the new Surface Book, you can check out this comparison video where I just talk about some of the pros and cons of each of those units. And you can check out some of our other videos where we put these products through a few other tests. And make sure you subscribe to our channel for other photo and video related content.